Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. I'm Parul Goswami, Senior Program Manager at DataLEADS. I extend a very warm welcome to all the participants, our esteemed speaker, to the special webinar on data verification, tools and approaches to collect and analyze data efficiently and accurately. Google News Initiative India Training Network, led by DataLEADS, is conducting a series of special webinars for Indian journalists, journalism students, media educators, and bloggers. These monthly webinars will have special and unique topics with a common aim to strengthen and support newsrooms and share new tools and learning with journalists and media students. Before talking about this workshop, I really want to share our wonderful network with you all. The Google News Initiative India Training Network is one of the world's biggest and the most impactful fact-checking training networks. The network aims to support journalists and media educators across India in their fight against misinformation. Led by DataLEADS, the network has so far trained over 40,000 plus journalists, media educators, journalism students, and fact checkers across many cities in India. Over 800 plus workshops held both in person and online. In August 2022, the network launched the Fact Check Academy and inducted 100 new trainers to help newsrooms and journalists build capacity to tackle climate misinformation and verify misleading data and claims that include false numbers. As we mark 4 years of the network, we expanded to include 5 new languages, which is Punjabi, Assamese, Gujarati, Odia, and Malayalam. Just a little housekeeping before we start the workshop. This workshop is in the webinar mode to avoid any disruption. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type them on the Q&A chat box on your screen, and we will share it with our trainer, and we will try to answer as many questions as time allows. Also, this session is under the Chatham House rule, which means you can use all the information from the session, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speaker will be revealed. In today's age of misinformation, using data accurately and efficiently is imperative to journalism. With digitization, access to data has become easier, but in some ways it has also become more difficult. Our goal is to combat this by equipping journalists with the right tools to incorporate data and context into their stories. Today, we will be discussing the fundamental of using data in your reporting, developing a data frame of mind, and a new free tool by Google to help journalists analyze data efficiently. Therefore, I'm so excited for today's session as the topic, data verification, tools and approaches. Now, without further delay, we will turn the time over to our trainer for today, Anushka Dalmia, data journalism trainer with DataLEADS. She is data-driven investigative reporter with an MS in journalism from Boston University. She has previously worked with the Telegram and Gazette in Massachusetts, the New England Center for Investigative Reporting, and the Institute for Nonprofit News. Thank you, Anushka, for joining us today, and over to you now.
Thank you, Parul. I'll just share my screen with everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, Parul. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Anushka, as Parul mentioned, and today we will be covering the basics of data journalism. I've been working with DataLEADS for the last 2 months on a project to bring data journalism to newsrooms and students across the country. And while today we have an hour for the training, and we'll be covering some parts of it, we do have a larger scale training, which I'll be talking about at the end of the session. Just a sec. So yeah, today we'll be talking about the data collection tools and approaches, along with extraction and scraping using Google Sheets and a tool called Tabula. And finally, we will be looking at Pinpoint, which is a tool by Google for journalists to analyze large data sets and documents efficiently and effectively. So first, whenever I talk about data journalism with most people, people can be intimidated because people view data as large numbers like endless Excel sheets and documents, and it can be intimidating to try and work with that to tell stories. But data journalism is merely a set of tools and skills that we can use to tell stories using data, or add data to our existing stories. And this can mean many things depending on the kind of stories you're doing. But what is essential is knowing these tools and knowing what you have at hand to enhance your stories, and try and find new stories every day. So what is data? Like I said, people can think of data as just like data sets and numbers, but it includes everything. It can be documents and emails, photos, videos, audio, historical records. Everything is data. Like everything around you is data. And we might not realize it, but we're like surrounded by treasure troves to add better context to our stories. For example, let's talk about this. Sorry, just a sec. Yeah, I was gonna, first I'm gonna talk about how using data can be tricky. And for that, we're gonna look at an example, because everyone is trying to incorporate data into their stories, but people are also making a lot of mistakes, and that can be really harmful for a journalist. For example, if you look at this headline, it says 82 times jump in COVID-19 cases, 3 times rise in hospitalization. When somebody looks at this headline, it immediately, gives a sense of unease and fear, because an 82 times jump in COVID-19 cases is a cause for alarm. However, this headline leaves out important context, because the 82 times jump, like if yesterday we had 3 COVID cases and 82 times, one COVID case and 82 times jump might not be that alarming. And 3 times rise in hospitalization, in this particular story, the 3 times jump in hospitalization was actually from the lowest point of hospitalizations in the entirety of the COVID-19 pandemic. So even though this is definitely news, it wasn't as alarming as the headline might make it seem. So using data, like I said, can be tricky. And you want to be very careful how you frame your numbers and how you frame any information that you're presenting to the audience. And poor handling of data, of course, can be death for a journalist. It can result in accusations of bias, it can compromise your work, and of course, losing trust of your readers and audience, which is, the bread and butter of a journalist is the trust of your audience. And finally, of course, lawsuits can always ensue if you're messing about with data, and especially data that is handled by powerful people. And making sense of data is not easy either. You can have all the documents, all the data sets you want, but getting from raw numbers, raw documents, to finding context, finding a story in there, finding a story that makes sense and that accurately represents the situation, it's a long process. And this is just like great infographic to illustrate that. And anytime we talk about data and journalism, people mention developing a data frame of mind, because if you truly want to start incorporating data into your journalism, you constantly have to think about it. You have to have a data frame of mind. You're looking at any story, any information, and you think about, like, where's the documentation to back it up? What else surrounding this story can I talk about to give audiences the complete picture? So that's what a data frame of mind simply is. And a lot of journalists already have one without exactly calling it that. And so being able to collect and question data in a disciplined way, making sure that you're looking out for discrepancies and you're looking out for patterns and outliers, and then also making sure that you're verifying your patterns. So let's talk about data collection and verification. First of all, data comes from everywhere. It comes from your election polls. Like I said, it comes from emails, phone calls. It comes from the railway, census, audits, banks, all kinds of surveys, budgets, land records. Everywhere you look, there is data. You just have to start looking. But even when you find a data sets, there are many, many questions and steps you want to go through to verify the data source. When you're looking out for a data source, you want to like make sure you have lists of the key sources of data, key verified sources of data. But regardless of like something being verified and trusted, you always want to ask like, who has collected this data? What kind of data has been collected? How has it been collected? Is it a survey? And is it online? Is it offline? Who funded it? Because often that can be very crucial in determining like, is this data supposed to point to a particular kind of conclusion, or is it meant for just accuracy? Sample sizes are very important, of course, because you can't survey 50 people and make conclusions about the whole country, of course. Was the sample randomly selected, or was the sample manipulated to again lead to a conclusion that's somehow profitable to a group? And like, which groups did the data collection process cover? Like, are we being representative of the entire population? These kinds of questions are always like very crucial to ask when we're looking at a data set. Finding sources of data. This is an easy way to go about it, because if you're working on a story, if you're working on any beat that you have, if something is either inspected, regulated, purchased at any point of time, or registered at any point of time, there will be some record of it somewhere or the other. So thinking of it like this is a good way to start in terms of where you can find documentation for your story. And of course, you want to treat data like any other source. Every journalist knows the 5 W's and H. You want to look for authenticity, like what is this data? Accuracy, like who funded it? Who is this about? Place, of course, like where did it come from? Which parts did it survey? Time, is it, if something was surveyed 10 years ago, is it still relevant now? Which can be very, very subjective. And of course, context, like why is this relevant to my story, and how can I relate it accurately to everything I'm talking about? And this might seem a little repetitive, but you constantly want to ask questions when you start working on a story with data, when you're in the middle of it, and after it. You want to keep checking to make sure that you are presenting the most accurate version of events as possible. So, there's always more questions to ask. If it's updated, is it possible to manipulate it? You want to go to the root of every piece of information that you collect to make sure that you are getting the complete picture. And this is just a great quote. In the end, this process of constantly questioning and verifying what we're talking about is what separates journalism from everything else that's being said out in the world, especially now when every person who has an opinion, who has an idea, is putting their information out in the internet. Like, this process of verification is what is separating journalism from everything else. Moving on to the tools. So first, we're going to talk about extracting data that's online into an Excel sheet or any kind of spreadsheet to make it easier to work with that data. And that process is called scraping. So I'm going to go to this tool called Tabula. Just give me a second. I will. Parul, could you clarify for me that you are still able to view my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, all right, great. So this is just a data set that I found on myneta.info. And as you can see that this table that, so let's say I want to work with, is on the website, on an HTML website. And I want to work with this data set, but it's really hard to try and work with it, or extract it in any way whatsoever. Like, if I, a lot of people try copy pasting, but that can really mess up the data. It cannot work properly. So Tabula is an easy, free tool. Sorry, I'm actually going to do scraping first. So you can easily scrape that data onto Google Sheets, which is, I'm sure everybody has used Google Sheets, but it's just in case you haven't, it's a free tool, part of, Google's different tools such as Slides and Docs. So it's a simple formula that you can use to extract data from an HTML website onto a spreadsheet. And this is how the formula goes. So you want to type in equal to, which is generally what you use to input a formula on Excel, on Sheets, on any kind of spreadsheet. And you type in import HTML, and then you open bracket. Then the first part of the formula is you copy the URL of the website where you want to take the data from, and you paste that in between quotation marks. So as you can see, that's what I have done. And then you add a comma right there. And the second part of the formula is telling Google Sheets whether you're looking for a table or a list. So in this case, as you can see right here, I'm looking for a table. I'm trying to extract a table, not a list. So I will go and in between quotation marks, I write table, and then I enter another comma. And the last thing that you need to enter is the number of the table that you are trying to extract. What this means is that, for example, on this particular website, on this page of the website, I see that this is the first table, right? But Google Sheets might interpret the first two as tables too. So I'm going to write, for example, right here, I'm going to write 3, and then I'm going to close the bracket. Just so you can note, the 3 is not in quotation marks. It is written just as is, and that's how the formula works. And then after writing that, I press enter, and it takes a second. And as you can see, it extracts the entire table onto your spreadsheet, and then you can work with it as you wish to. I'm also going to show you something else, like in case, for example, let me just delete it. In case you type in the formula and everything is going well, but for some reason, like it just didn't work. So something you can do is when you write in a formula like this, just as I've written right now, is equal to import HTML. There's a question mark sign you can see. If you click on that, and then you click on this down arrow right here, it shows you how you're supposed to use the formula along with an example. So for example, like, you wrote down a formula and you forgot to put quotation marks on table. You can see in this example that that's what they have done. So you can compare this example to the formula you're using to make sure everything is in order and make any corrections that you need to. And if you forget, like you just don't remember how the formula works, this is also helpful. Like you can write an import HTML, and you can just check the example and figure out how to extract your data. It also tells you everything, like the different parts of the formula. So that's helpful as reference when you're trying to extract any data set. Something else I want to talk about when we talk about scraping is, so when I type in the formula, and I'm just going to do the formula again, and I put it onto my sheet, what happens is that the entire data set is linked to the formula that's in this cell. So you always want to make sure that you copy this, and then you paste it again, and make sure that it pastes values only. This might seem a little confusing, but it's not really. Like, what it is doing is making sure that the information you have here isn't tied to a formula here. If it's still tied to that formula, what will happen is if you delete this cell, then the entire table will disappear because all your information is tied to the formula you put in there. So whenever you extract, you want to make sure that you copy and paste it again as just the values without the formula, so that even if you delete that accidentally, your data set remains intact. All right, I hope that was helpful, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A chat and I will answer them at the end. Next, so we're gonna go on to Tabula, which is a very easy to use tool to extract data from PDFs. As anybody who has ever worked in journalism knows, a lot of data sets, especially put out by the government, can be in uneditable PDFs, which makes it hard to take that data out and like analyze it in any useful way whatsoever. So Tabula is one of the tools that can help you extract that data from a PDF into any format that you want and work on it as you see fit. So right here, I have imported a data set, which is called performance, which is about performance of political parties. But I'll just show you, like you can click on this browse and you can, you can like click on any PDF file you have, double click on that and open it, and it will import it right here as my data set exists right here. I hope that's clear enough. So once you've imported a data set on Tabula, you click on it and it opens up like this. So this is the data set I'm using right now. And as you can see, it has a lot of different columns, a lot of different column headers, and this can sometimes be a little confusing. Tabula does have a feature called auto detect tables, so that it's going to detect the table automatically. And then I can preview and see what it gives me, right, from that. So if I used auto detect tables, as you can see, this is the data set it's given me. I'm sure all of you can see that this is quite incorrect because it has put in multiple columns in this one single column because it hasn't realized that they're actually different columns. So if I tried to work on this data set, it would be, kind of like useless. So what I'm going to do is go back, and instead of relying on the auto detect feature, I am going to select the tables myself. So let me see. If I do this, suppose I select right till here. Let me preview by pressing here and see what turns up. Okay, so this is a little bit better than our previous attempt. As you can see that it has recognized more columns and it's pretty accurate. But if we compare it to the previous one, it's still like it can get better because it has missed out. In the first column, it has taken two columns as one. So you can see it says BJP with 73 and BSP with 20, which is actually part of the contested seats that you can view right here. So how can we make sure that all of the columns are separated properly? So the way Tabula works is that it looks at column headers, and according to that, it separates the columns. Here, there's no lines to separate these columns here. So it's hard for it to understand which column ends where. So instead, what I'm going to do is select the data set from here, which is slightly clearer because there is a single column header above each of the columns. So I do this, and when I preview it, it has separated them properly. Let me just go through that again so I can make it clearer for everybody. As you can see, there's like headers here, and then there's subheaders here, right? So seats is the main header, and under that we have contested, 1, FD. So if I select from here, what happens is it recognizes seats as the header, and then it combines all of this information, which is not what we want. We want it to separate all that information, which is why I selected from here so it can recognize that each of these columns have a separate header, and then it can give me data, give me like columns separated accurately. So that's what you do with Tabula. You go and select all of your data, and I can do the same as I go here, right till the end, and once more here, and then I can preview this, and my data set is ready, as you can see. Of course, when I export it, right here, you can export it in different formats. Normally we use CSV, so I can export it like that. It'll just save itself as a CSV file on your computer. The data set it gives me, I'll just open it up. Okay, the data set it gives me, it'll still need some work. It'll still need some cleaning and processing to be able to, be completely prepped for data analysis. But Tabula does help you like get a lot of work done in one go. So yeah, I think that's it for the data extraction we can do today, but I am happy to answer questions at the end of the session. And even though we don't have time to work on data cleaning today, I will be talking about the full-scale data journalism training, in which we can learn how to work on the data set on Excel, clean it, analyze it a little bit. Until then, I'm going to move on to Google Pinpoint, which is a great tool by Google developed quite recently, specifically for journalists. So Google Pinpoint, what it does is, first of all, you can go to journaliststudio.pinpoint and you can find this tool if you would like to view it as a doc. But so Google Pinpoint is essentially a way to analyze all kinds of documents, whether they are PDFs, audio files, emails, phone calls, all kinds of different files in one collection, and be able to analyze them all in one go. That might sound a little confusing, but I'm going to show you how the tool works and it will be slightly more clear. So yeah, you can go onto this link and you'd have to request for access to be able to use it. Generally, they give you access within an hour, but right now I'm just going to show you my Pinpoint and that'll be clear enough. So for example, I'm just going to go to Pinpoint. I will actually have to stop share here. I'm just going to share. Oh, is my screen visible, Parul? Can you confirm that for me?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this is how Pinpoint looks on the workspace, and I'm going to simply go on the example that I have. And this is the interface that you can see on Google Pinpoint. Now, this might look a little bit intimidating, but I'll go through it one by one, like each aspect of it, and it should be clear enough. So what Pinpoint allows you to do is you can upload, like I said, all kinds of documents, PDFs, audio files. You can convert video files into audio, upload those, images, everything you can think of pretty much. And when you upload these files, it converts them into PDF itself, and then you can search through all of them at once, right? So for my example here, I have uploaded 2 files. One is a PDF document, which is the 2019 manifesto of the Lok Sabha elections it's the manifesto of Congress for the Lok Sabha elections. Yeah, so this is the manifesto that I've uploaded. And along with that, I have uploaded a short version of this year's speech by our finance minister, Nirmala Sitharaman. And this particular file was an audio file. As you can see here, it says .mp3.pdf, which means it was an MP3 file. And when I uploaded it to Pinpoint, it automatically converted it into a PDF file and made it into a transcript, which is another very useful feature of Pinpoint. I'm sure as journalists, a lot of people have used different kinds of transcription tools, but this one by Pinpoint is, definitely one of the best ones right now. It automatically makes a transcript for you, and then you have additional ways, like it separates the transcripts. So if I were to press play on this part, it would, instantly play that part of the audio file for me. Of course, no transcription software is 100% accurate, so I can listen to the transcript as I go and edit it right there and then, like as you can see. Not going to do any editing work right now, but yep, done. So yeah, so you can work with your transcripts, you can put in audio files, and that's super easy. But another thing about transcripts is that sometimes you have interviews and audio files that are 20 minutes long. Sometimes you have some that are 2 hours long, and you can't, it's hard to go through them, the entire transcript and everything. So what you can do in Pinpoint is you can search all of your documents at once. So if I were to, write any keyword, for example, if I write, say, farmer, it will tell me all the mentions of that word within all the documents I've uploaded. In this example, I only have 2 documents and word farmer is mentioned only in one of those documents. But you can upload up to 2 lakh documents in a single collection. So you could have endless number of emails, documents, anything that you've collected, and it'll tell you every mention of the word farmer in all of those documents. And so just in this particular PDF document, there's 44 mentions of farmer, and you can, go through them as you can go through anytime you, control plus F, control plus find through any document. But the difference between a control plus find feature on, any application versus searching documents on Pinpoint is that when I type in farmer, as you can see, it's not just looking for the word farmer, it's looking for the word farmers, the plural, farm, all of that. I can also, for example, if I were to write army here, it would not just give me like the word army, it would give me armies, armed for like armed forces. It also gives you like military, like it can recognize words that are related to the topic you're referring to, and also give you mentions of those words. If you wanted to search for an exact word, suppose you're not looking for anything but the mention of the word army, you can use the modifiers that generally work on Google search, and which is that if you put them in quotations, it searches for the exact match of the word army. And if I did that, it would only give me mentions of the word army and not the related words. Now, on the right side of Pinpoint, you can see that it has recognized keywords from within these documents. So you have like the names of important people that it has recognized. So it's like kind of giving you a little summary of what is contained in all of these documents, which is also very helpful. It's also recognized, organizations that might be important, or like words that might be important, and also locations that are mentioned in the documents that you have uploaded. Another feature like that, generally when I talk about Pinpoint, people's first question is, does it do Hindi? Does it do other regional languages in India? And that's where the good news comes in. If you click on this right here, so this pops up, and you have 2 options here. You have entity display language and audio file spoken language. So entity display refers to text within all of the documents, and it can recognize text in many Indian and South Asian languages, including Nepali, Marathi, Hindi, Bangla, and so on. So if you uploaded files that had text written in any of these languages, it would be able to read it, and it would be able to recognize those same words in English as well. So if you have, say, multiple documents that refer to, Mahatma Gandhi, it will recognize Mahatma Gandhi written in English, in Hindi, and all of those languages, and it will give you all of those results together. For audio files, so Pinpoint doesn't transcribe Hindi as of yet. It transcribes these languages, as you can see, but we do know that they are working on incorporating Hindi in audio files as well. So, Pinpoint is still developing, it's still, in that phase. So hopefully we'll soon be able to upload audio files in Hindi as well as many other languages. So, you can get a full transcript in different languages as well. You want to be careful when you're uploading documents to Pinpoint. For example, if you're uploading a PDF document that's in Hindi, you want to go click on this. You want to change it to Hindi right here, and then upload that document so it knows that the next document that's going to come up will be in Hindi, just so it doesn't get a little confused while analyzing it for you. Finally, I'm just going to talk about one more feature in the transcript. So this is your transcript for any audio file. Another thing you can do is, for example, you can select part of the transcript, and I'll just delete this. Yep, you can select part of the transcript and you can highlight it and get a link for it. So for example, if you're, if you have a 2-hour transcript, but you want to send only a part of it to your editor, that's really relevant. So you highlight it, you get that link, and when you paste that link on an email to your editor, and they click on that link, it's going to open up the transcript and it's going to show them the highlighted part only. So that kind of saves time in like communication across a newsroom, and like just helps you, have a better workspace. People also generally ask me a question about like, so is it paid? Is it, where are the files like going to stay? So the files that you upload onto your Pinpoint do take up space on your Google Drive. But apart from that, it is free to use. You can, I'm just going to go back to my presentation just a sec. So, yeah. As it says on the presentation, you can upload up to 2 lakh documents per collection and folder, but those documents will be taking up space on your Google Drive. And I think Google Drive has up to 15 GB of documents that you can upload. So that space limitation does exist. You can convert video files into audio files and then upload them. So it will give you a similar kind of transcript as I just showed. We've already gone through this. Obviously, audio files can take time to get converted. So you want to give it some time. Like if you have a 20-30 minute audio file, it could take up to an hour. So that's a kind of limitation. And these are all the compatible file types that you can upload onto Pinpoint. It takes images, JPEG, PNG, all of those kind of file types, CSVs. It takes PowerPoint, Excel, emails, all of these file formats are accepted by Pinpoint. If you upload them, it'll just convert them into a PDF file. People also ask if Pinpoint analyzes text on images, and it does. So yeah, you can sign up for Pinpoint. It's free to use. So, you can just go onto this link and you'll be able to sign up to Pinpoint quite easily. And yeah, that's it for the stuff that we have to cover today. I did want to leave some time for questions because, like I know that these tools can be a lot and I might have gone through them a little fast, so we can go through the questions. But before I start the Q&A session, I did want to talk about the full-scale data journalism training we have. So until the end of this year, me and my colleague, we are conducting a full-scale data journalism training that covers not just the tools we did here today, which is extraction and collection, but we go deeper into Excel to understand how to clean that data and analyze it better, and also data visualization, the kind of common mistakes you can make, how to visualize data in the best ways possible. And this training is available free of cost to any newsroom across the country, to any media institute across the country. And we're also organizing it at press clubs for freelancers and individual applicants. So if you go onto this link, bit.ly/data journalism training form, you can sign up and I will be getting back to you via email. Again, it's free of cost. It's just, we're just doing this to, advance journalism in the country and help people get the tools that might be helpful to them. And if you have any questions after this training, you can always reach out to me on my Twitter, which is linked right here. And yeah, I think we have time for questions. So I will stop my screen share and come right back here.
Thank you, Anushka. Thank you so much for such an interesting and fascinating session. And before we start the Q&A session, I just wanted to share, we have a feedback form and we would appreciate if everybody could share it. If they could fill it, that way we will know where all to improve our trainings and it'll be really great help for us. So please share your feedback with us. For the questions, actually, I'll start with the first question. So, everybody is really, really interested in data journalism, but the data and the numbers scare them away. So what's like the initial, so if you want to start off, so what would be your like a quick guide or a tip sheet sort of a thing to how to initiate that interest? Like, okay, you're interested, but how do we start from where?
For sure. So, when I started out doing data journalism, I consider myself very bad at math. So it was a little intimidating for me as well. But honestly, one of the first things you can do is just start reading data stories. And generally when people talk about data, they will talk about where they got the data set, and they will mention what applications they use to visualize it. And if you start going through data stories, you're going to realize that it's a lot more about qualitative analysis. It's a lot more intuitive as opposed to sitting and crunching numbers all day. So just reading a diverse array of data stories can be helpful in opening up your mind to how you can actually incorporate data in different ways, because it's across beats, it's across languages. People are using data in every way possible across the world. So that can be very, very helpful. The kind of tools we discussed, you have to play around with these tools a lot. You can't nobody gets this in a day. We just did a webinar, but obviously, these tools require time to fully understand, fully absorb, fully learn, to put yourself into a mindset where you can adapt each story into a data story. So, playing around with these tools a lot is going to be great. And, just generally, sometimes this might seem like a silly piece of advice, but following the right people on social media and Twitter can expose you to a lot new ways about journalism, about using data. So sort of just being actively involved in that sphere can be a very, very helpful place to start.
So I've received a lot of questions, so I'm going to read it out and you can answer them. So, can Tabula work with the image-based PDFs, scanned documents, or only text-based PDFs?
Okay, so sadly, Tabula does work only on text-based PDFs, not on image-based PDFs. There are other tools out there that do work with image-based PDFs. Comet Docs is one of these tools that does do image-based PDFs. The reason I talk about Tabula is because it is free to use. Other tools can often ask you for obviously a subscription, or give you 2 a month kind of conversions. And because generally text-based PDFs are more common within journalism sphere, so I talk about Tabula. But you can explore out there. There's new tools popping up every second. So there's definitely other tools that can help you out.
And can you please guide us through your process of asking the 8 verification questions in case of an open data set? For instance, how do you find the answers to the 8 questions when you come across a data set?
Okay, so this can be very subjective because, each data set is different. The way it's put on the internet is different. Some people can be very open about their sources, about the entire methodology. So sometimes that can be actually very easy. You can, people want to talk about how they collected this data. People want to be very clear. Other times it's really not that easy. Especially that itself is a red flag. If somebody doesn't have any information on how they collected that data set, or what went into the process, that itself can throw me off the data, and I can be a little wary of it. I will say that oftentimes one of the first things you want to do is look at different sources for the same data, because data is becoming such a valued commodity. There's even for-profit companies that are in that field. So for a particular piece of information, you can often find different sources giving you similar data. So doing that can be helpful, even if you're not able to, go into the methodology of each data set. If you have multiple sources that kind of are giving you the same result, then that can be a good process of verification. Also, another thing is, people who collect data, people who work with data want to talk about it. So even if it's not available on the website, emailing people can be helpful. If you just, people generally, there's names of people who worked on it. So just reaching out to them and asking them questions can also be really, can yield great results pretty much.
I find the Pinpoint really interesting. So there are a couple of questions on that. Can we use Pinpoint to transcript the video files?
So it doesn't take video files, but what you can do is you can convert your video file into an audio file and then upload it. So it'll still give you a transcript for the video. It's just, converted into an audio before that. Also, it might take video later, but I would still suggest converting it into an audio file, because video files have large are much larger in size. So
Yeah.
that takes up a lot of space and time on your Google Drive. So an audio file is just easier.
Somebody's asked, can we use Pinpoint for Hindi documents? I know you answered that question where you said they're still developing on that. But I was very curious about this, that how about the abbreviations? Will they recognize, say, BJP, somebody write just BJP and instead of Bharatiya Janata Party? So will it recognize it, for instance, if it referred in the document?
I think that depends on like the commonality of that abbreviation. Like, BJP might be easy because it's like very, very synonymous with the Bharatiya Janata Party. But for some other, and especially because Pinpoint is a worldwide tool, what can happen is that a single abbreviation could have different meanings depending on which part of the world you are. So we do want to be a little careful with that. One thing I didn't talk about was that in the search bar, you can actually search multiple words. So you can always put like Bharatiya Janata Party and BJP into the same search. So in case it's not, recognizing that both of those are the same, you can put both words in there and then it, get all of the results at the same time. So that is definitely a good question because you want to be wary of that.
Also, so does Pinpoint recognize all types of audio formats or just MP3 files?
No, it does recognize multiple audio formats. Let me just look at the list. Yes, so it does MP3, WAV, FLAC. And again, as I mentioned, Pinpoint is still very much evolving. So they could be adding more formats as we go. This is just the latest information that I have, but that could change.
This is very interesting. Kindly demonstrate the PDF part, how to extract table from a PDF. Also, the extracting transcripts from video. You think you could do that?
I can
have time
like, go
for it?
through it. Yeah, I mean, if you, I think I should go through the rest of the questions first, and right at the end,
Okay.
if other people want to leave, they can.
Okay. It was mentioned in the session that we can share a highlighted part of a transcript to others as a link. Does it work with some sort of access through permission similar?
Yes, that's a good question. So Pinpoint works as all your Google Drive files work, right? If you want to share something on Sheets or Docs, when you share it, it gives you the option to add emails, and you can make them viewers, you can make them editors, you can make them like just for commenting. So that's how Pinpoint works as well. You can share your collection with someone, and only the people who have access to your collection will be able to view any links which relate to that collection.
And do we need to convert the video to get it transcripted on Google Pinpoint? Does it automatically recognize the audio if we upload a video file?
Yeah, so yeah, like video files, you do have to convert to MP3 before you can upload them. But once you have converted into an MP3, you can just upload it and it will convert it into a PDF for you.
And then moving on to Tabula, how to make graph quickly? Is Tabula free?
So for graphs, Tabula doesn't make graphs for you. That's more data visualization. Like I said, we talk about data visualization in our full scale training, but I can tell you some tools you can use, like Flourish, you can use Data Wrapper, Tableau, these kinds of different tools to make graphs easily. But like, if you're interested in like learning it step by step, I would suggest signing up for the full scale training, and I will get back to you ASAP. And about Tabula being free, yes, Tabula is free to use, but it does require Java to work effectively on your computer. So, that part can be a little tricky for some people, but otherwise it's completely free to use.
And can Tabula convert a PNG file to an Excel file?
No, Tabula doesn't convert, like, it doesn't really work with images. It works with like text-based PDFs. But again, there's like a lot of different tools out there to do that for you. So, and even Pinpoint, if you upload an image to Pinpoint, it can recognize text within that image and it converts that image into a PDF. So, like I said, there's many tools to do that for you.
Great. Anushka, I think we've mostly done. If anybody has more questions, they can feel free to, how can we sign up? Oh, okay.
I will just put the link in the chat box. Just a second.
Yes, if you could put the link on the chat box, people are asking for that.
Yep. So, the link is in the main chat box, not in the Q&A one, and you can copy paste that and you can sign up easily.
I think somebody wanted you to demonstrate the PDF part.
Yep. So I'm just gonna share my screen again. So the PDF, how to extract. Okay, perfect. So share screen. So you can, so
Yeah, I can
this
see your
is,
screen.
yeah, perfect. So this is Tabula, and like you can, this is the tool you use to extract tables from PDFs. You upload the PDF document you have using the browse feature and then click on import, and then it'll show you the file right here, and you can click on that to extract data. So this table is a little bit complicated. In a lot of tables, you can simply click on auto detect tables right here, and it will generally recognize the table pretty well. And when you preview it, you know, it will generally be like a very well sorted table that you can just export onto a CSV file. The reason I've chosen this slightly complicated table is to make sure that if you're dealing with something like that, you still know how to get the table you need. So in this particular file, you can see that even though there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 columns, there's a lot of different kinds of headers, right? You can see that it says seats here, but then under seats, there are 3 different types of columns. And again, under share and valid votes, there's 2 more columns and then another column. So all of these headers together can be a little confusing for Tabula to auto detect properly. So what I can do is instead select them myself. So if I select this, right, what I have done is I have selected from the part of the table where each column corresponds to a single header. So as you can see, if you have 73, 27, 14 right here, this column, it only corresponds to the word contested and not to the word seats or not to performance of political parties. Because if I select the entire thing, it's going to get confused about which is the header and which is the column, right? Especially because there's no column separation here in this document. So that's what I ended up doing. And if I click on preview, as you can see, it's showing me a much cleaner table that I can easily export onto a CSV file and then be able to work on it on Excel, on Google Sheets, your preferred platform. If you have questions about this still, feel free to put them in the chat box. We have a couple of minutes and I can address them.
Yeah, there is one question. Will I lose the transcriptive text on Pinpoint if I delete the audio file from my Google Drive?
Yes, you will. So like I said, those files directly correspond to like it being stored on your Google Drive. So definitely you still want to keep those files. But like if you say that you might delete the audio file from your Google Drive, so what happens is when you're uploading it, it directly uploads as a PDF transcript. It doesn't really put the audio file in there. While uploading, it simply converts them. So there won't really be an audio file for you to delete. There will just be the transcript for you to delete.
Great. Thank you so much. Sorry, we're running out of time. If you have any question, you could share it with me and I'll share it with Anushka, or you could directly write to Anushka on it. And also you could sign up for more trainings if you want a customized training on data journalism, and we will reach out to you. So thank you very much. Thank you so much, Anushka, for, conducting this training for us. It was really fascinating. It was really interesting. And you were so nice and patiently you answered all the questions. So thank you. Thank you very much for doing this. And all the participants, thank you very much for joining us today. And we will see you again with a new training session, with a unique topic, with a new subject matter expert and trainer next month. To know more about our future webinars, please follow DataLEADS digital space. We keep posting our future trainings there. In case you want a customized training for your newsroom, press club, or media college on visual investigation, climate change verification, and data verification, please feel free to write to me at parul@dataleads.co.in. So thank you very much, everyone, for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. Thank you. We'll be back soon with a new webinar. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.